chosen by God. The shocking reward awaiting you. It will leave everyone speechless. The night fell like a heavy curtain, cloaking the town of Millfield in an eerie stillness. Local legends spoke of a hidden treasure rumored to be buried beneath the old oak tree at the edge of town. They said it was touched by God himself, a divine reward for the pure of heart, a prize that could change everything in a split second. People had disappeared while searching for it, their whispers forever fading into the winds of fate. In the shadows cast by flickering streetlights, the townsfolk exchanged nervous glances, feeling the weight of buried secrets pressing on their chests. As the full moon climbed high, its silver light bathing the landscape in a ghostly glow, young Ellie stood alone at the tree's gnarled roots, heart racing. Her fingers trembled with anticipation, brushing against the rough bark. There was something otherworldly about the air, a heavy charge, like electricity crackling just out of reach. A rustle in the bushes jolted her, and she turned, breathing fast. Was it just a stray animal? Or was someone else searching for the same lost fortune? Old Man Jenkins, with sunken eyes and a hunched back, had warned her once. It's not just gold, girl. There's a path to power that comes with a price. His words echoed in her mind as she searched the ground around her. The town was steeped in superstition, but curiosity drove her forward. Rumors of the treasure had pulled others into its grasp, making them vanish without a trace. She could feel the anticipation simmering like boiling water, filling her with an intoxicating mix of fear and excitement. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when she thought about giving up, a glimmer caught her eye, something shiny half buried between the roots. She knelt down, heart thundering in her ears, as she clawed away the dirt. Was this it? The thing everyone had been searching for? As she pulled the object free, a whisper slipped through the wind. You found it. It seemed to say, wrapping around her like a chilling embrace. Suddenly, barking echoed behind her, shattering the silence like glass. Panic surged through her, but she couldn't tear her eyes away from what lay in her hands. There, glinting under the moonlight, was an ornate key, strange, heavy, and unlike anything she had ever seen before. The air thickened with tension, and she felt eyes watching her. Who had been there? What doors would this key unlock? As she stood, trembling between fear and exhilaration, she realized that the treasure wasn't just gold. It was a door to secrets long buried, and some doors were best left shut. What chilling truth lay beyond? The mystery lingered, hanging in the air like smoke, waiting for Ellie's next move. The night grew colder, and Ellie's breath turned to mist as she clutched the key tightly. Every creak of the nearby trees seemed amplified, like the world was holding its breath with her. Shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, and her heart raced with each sound. She glanced back toward the direction of the barking, trying to dismiss her fear. But something told her she was not alone. Suddenly, the rustling escalated. A figure emerged from the darkness, almost ghost-like under the moonlight. It was Tom, her childhood friend, his face twisted with a mix of excitement and terror. Ellie, I saw you from the path. What did you find? His voice cut through the night, but instead of drawing her in, it sent a cold shiver down her spine. It's a key, she whispered, holding it up like a talisman. The air felt charged, electric, and hints of laughter echoed across the field, distant yet haunting. She scanned the trees again, feeling as if the world was watching. I don't know what it unlocks, but Thomas' eyes widened. You should put it back. This isn't right. You remember the stories. People said they heard voices, saw things they shouldn't see, and some went missing. She interrupted, a lump forming in her throat. But I can't just leave it. What if it really is a treasure? What if it's my chance? He stepped closer, the air between them growing thick with tension. Your chance for what? To become a legend or to end up like the others. This kind of thing changes people, Ellie. Look at old man Jenkins. Her mind flicked back to his tired face and cryptic warnings. She shook her head, frustration bubbling up. You don't understand. I have to know. Before Tom could respond, shouts erupted from the path leading to the oak tree. A group of teenagers stumbled into view, flashlights swaying between them. They were out on a treasure hunt, fueled by whispers of the key, the treasure, and the curse. Ellie felt her stomach drop like a rock. They had to be after the same legends. Did they know something else? Ellie, one of the girls, Sarah, called out, her tone too gleeful for the gravity of the moment. Did you find something? We heard you scream. Ellie's chest tightened, and she glanced at Tom, silently pleading for him to stay quiet. I found a key. But I think it's important to. But the excitement had already taken hold. Let us see it. Another voice chimed, and they clustered around her, eyes wide with hope and greed. As they crowded closer, Ellie felt the weight of their expectations, every eye on her, every whisper a demand for more. They wouldn't understand the weight of what she held. This key wasn't just physical. It was something deeper, something dangerous that could lead to unthinkable power or disaster. A part of her wanted to run, to bury the key again and leave the mystery unearthed. But even as she considered it, the air crackled once more, and a sudden chill swept through the grove. From somewhere deep in the woods came a low growl, sending the dogs into a frenzied barking. As laughter turned to anxious murmurs, Ellie felt a storm of emotions crashing over her: fear, excitement, and the sudden pressing need for answers. Then, the ground beneath them began to tremble slightly, unsettling the roots of the old oak. Every heartbeat echoed like thunder, and she feared they had awakened something from slumber. As the moonlight dimmed, a shadowy figure emerged from the treeline. Eyes wide, they turned as one to face whatever was coming. Ellie tightened her grip on the key, suddenly aware that her choice would determine not just her fate, but the fates of everyone standing beside her. What had she awakened with that key, and what price would they all have to pay for the answers they sought? Ellie's heart thundered in her chest as the shadow took a step closer. The figure slipped from the darkness, moving with an unnatural grace that made her skin crawl. Panic threatened to overpower her and send her running, but she remained frozen, clinging to the key as if it were her only lifeline. "Who's there?" Tom shouted, his voice shaking, but he stepped protectively in front of Ellie. The others flanked him, their flashlights bobbing erratically, illuminating faces twisted with fear and anticipation. Shadows flickered across the clearing, drawing ghostly shapes that danced among the trees. "Just stay back," Ellie whispered, barely loud enough for Tom to hear, but he was already backing away, keeping his fixed gaze on the figure before them. "I'm not here to harm you," came a voice, low and chilling, sending shivers down Ellie's spine. "The key, it has awakened me." The figure stepped into the moonlight, a gaunt man wearing tattered clothing that matched the forest's dark hues. His hair was wild, an unruly mass that framed a face marked by strange symbols that glowed faintly against his pale skin. His eyes shimmered, shimmering like molten gold. "What do you want?" Ellie managed to utter, feeling increasingly exposed. "What has always been sought, the truth behind the legends." His gaze pierced through her. But truth always comes at a cost. She struggled to breathe. The growling had subsided, replaced by the tense silence that wrapped around them like a shroud. "What legends? What are you talking about?" she pressed. "Those who seek treasure will find it, but at a price. Those who wish to unlock the past will face what it means to hold power." Tom's voice quivered. "What power? What do you want from us?" The figure smiled, a curling grin that held secrets she couldn't fathom. "You think you can control it? The key you hold is a vessel, a connection to what lies beyond. But the spirits guarding its secret are hungry for souls." As he spoke, the air shifted, growing heavier and more oppressive. Ellie felt a chill creeping up her spine. The other teens exchanged nervous glances, their bravado quickly evaporating. Fear wrapped around them with a vice-like grip. A sudden flare of laughter erupted from the treetops, an eerie echo that felt like a taunt. "Let her speak," Let her decide. The voice was jubilant yet dangerous, sweeping through the grove like a gale. What do you mean, decide? She asked, her own voice trembling, filled with dread. The figure gestured to the glowing symbols on his skin. Unlock it, and the treasure reveals itself. But know this: the cost will be yours to bear. Embrace the dark gifts, and you may never return to who you were before. The group exchanged eager and terrified glances. Conversations flared with hushed whispers, discussing the risks versus the rewards. Elias' mind raced while her instincts screamed to run. It's just a story, just some crazy old myth. What do you mean, dark gifts? Sarah whispered shakily, the bravado she'd shown earlier crumbling. Either you turn back now, or you face the consequences if you wish to know what lies beyond. The weight of the figure's words hung in the air, pressing down on them all. The ground trembled again beneath her feet as if warning them about the decision looming ahead. Without thinking, her hand tightened on the key, the cool metal steady against the heat of her skin. She couldn't back down now, not when the answers had become so tantalizingly close. But at what price? As the figure advanced, the shadows around him seemed to converge, darkening the grove further still. Terrifying images flickered at the edges of her vision, glimpses of lost souls, haunting eyes pleading in despair. Ellie! Tom cried, his voice snapping her back to reality. Don't! This is madness! And in that moment, the truth loomed larger than life. Was she ready to tread the path of darkness for a chance at glory? The shadowy aura pulsed, and the figures of the forest swirled once more. She stood at a precipice, the key glowing bright in her palm, but the abyss beckoned. She took a deep breath. I'm not afraid of the truth. Then, as she stepped forward, she felt the darkness close in on her. And in that split second, a deafening roar pierced the night as the ground split wide open beneath her. What had she chosen to embrace? And could they all survive the revelations waiting on the other side? Everything spun as Ellie fell, swallowed by the chasm that had opened up beneath her. The air screamed past her as she plummeted, her heart stitching itself into an erratic rhythm of sheer panic. A cold wave of dread crashed over her. She didn't know where she was going, but the ground above was vanishing, replaced by darkness that felt alive and eager to entrap her. Ellie! Thomas' desperate shout echoed, but it dimmed as she fell, swallowed by laughter that resonated up above. Felt mocking, cruel. What awaited her at the bottom of this abyss? Fear gnawed at her, and everything she thought she knew about herself began to shatter. Finally, she landed hard onto a damp, cold surface. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs, and for a moment, she lay still, feeling as if she were melting into the stone beneath her. Silence enveloped her, thick and palpable. She gasped as her senses flooded back. Gradually, she pushed herself up to her knees, the coolness of the ground grounding her. She blinked, adjusting to the dim light surrounding her. Glimmering motes danced in the air, revealing a cave, its grotesque walls etched with the same symbols she had seen on the figure above. It was vast, and yet confined, echoing her gasping breaths back at her in mocking cadence. Tom! Sarah! Can anyone hear me? She called, her voice echoing, tinged with desperation. The silence stretched, taut as a wire, and in it, she sensed movement. Elias' heart jolted painfully as shadows flickered along the edges of the cavern. From the gloom, a figure emerged, a reflection of the man above, but twisted, an amalgamation of light and shadow. It stood before her, possessing an unsettling familiarity, yet a pronounced sinister aura. It is good to see you in my realm. The being hissed, its voice split like shards of ice. Who are you? She demanded, though it came out in a trembling whisper. I am what the key has awakened. I am your guide and your reckoning. Elias' skin prickled as the cave pulsed with an eerie light. There was a promise in its depths, something untouched yet terrible. What do you mean? Simple, really. You wanted to uncover the truth, didn't you? To taste the power that lies ahead? What truth? She gritted out, fighting to keep her voice steady. The being stepped closer, and Elias' stomach dropped. It leaned into the light, revealing more symbols engraved on its skin, symbols like those that had glowed on the figure above. The treasure you seek is not gold or jewels but understanding. The knowledge of the dark gifts awaits. But remember, the spirits that guard the truth are not benevolent. They will demand a sacrifice, a soul for a soul. No, Ellie whispered, horrified. The laughter from above sounded again, echoing through the cave. You are already bound to them. The moments you feared, your desperation that opened the door. It replied, its glowing eyes boring into her. Turn back now, and live a life of ignorance. Embrace the dark gifts, and you shall gain infinite wisdom, yet lose part of yourself. Ellie's thoughts raced. The idea of power tugged at her, promising absolution for all her past mistakes. Every hurt lingered unhealed. What if she could change everything? But at what cost? In that moment, she caught sight of a shimmering object at the cave's far end. A chest, ornate and glimmering with a light of its own, pulsed with an undeniable allure. Ellie, do not be deceived, the shadowy figure warned. You cannot unmake a choice once it has been made. The weight of the decision pressed down on her as echoes of her friends' voices flooded back into her mind. Thomas' faith in her, Sarah's fear, the bond they had all shared. Could she shatter that for answers? Choose wisely, the figure hissed, urging her forward. With every step toward the treasure, the flicker of hope warred against the creeping shadows around her. Did she have the strength to confront the truth? And if she did, would she be the same afterwards? Ellie's fingers brushed against the cool surface of the chest, and in that instant, the darkness rushed forward and a thunderous voice cried out, vibrating through the very earth beneath her. Every choice has its consequence. What will you become, Ellie? In a single heart-stopping moment, the glow of the chest surged, and everything went black. What awaited her in that darkness? And would she dare to uncover it? Ellie came to with a jolt. The darkness was thick, almost suffocating, yet she felt warmth radiating from the chest she had touched. It pulsed beneath her fingertips, a heartbeat echoing through her veins. Panic bubbled up her throat. She blinked, trying to discern shapes in the void. Is anyone there? She whispered, her voice trembling, swallowed by the oppressive silence. Suddenly, the chest flared to life, casting flickering shadows across the cavern. Ellie squinted against the dazzling light, the symbols on the walls dancing like flames. For a heartbeat, she felt a connection, as if the very air was alive and watching her. Ellie, a voice crooned familiar yet twisted. The shadowy figure had returned. You are awakening. What did I do? She gasped, the gravity of her actions weighing heavily. You reached for what you desired, it replied, its voice a sinister melody. And now the truth must be faced. The glow intensified, and Ellie's heart raced. She could sense movement in the shadows that swirled around the edges of the light. Whispers tickled her eardrums, coaxing memories to the surface, voices of her friends mingling with specters of her past failures. No, she lunged away from the chest, its warmth now feeling like a curse. But the shadows converged, forcing her back closer. Embrace me, Ellie. Accept the dark gifts and all your desires shall be at your command. It urged, enticing, coaxing. The air crackled, heavy with temptation. Enough, she shouted, her voice resolute. I'm not afraid of the truth, but I won't betray my friends. At those words, the shadows recoiled, disappearing momentarily. The room trembled, and she felt the ground beneath her shift and twist, almost as if responding to her defiance. Her heart pounded, a loud drumbeat against the heavy silence that enveloped her. Foolish girl, the figure hissed, its tone morphing into a dangerous whisper. Will you choose ignorance over understanding? What's at stake goes beyond friendship. Are you willing to risk everything? What are you really offering me? She questioned, her voice steadier now. The truth sparkled tantalizingly in the dim light, like stars just out of reach. Infinite knowledge, power that could change the world. But it leaned closer, a wicked grin spreading across its shadowy face. It comes with a price. Your innocence, your memories, even the lives of those you cherish. Ellie's breath hitched in her throat. You can't take them from me. I won't allow it. But every choice comes with sacrifice. The road ahead is not simply paved with your desires. You must uncover what lies beneath that which you wish for. If you refuse, I offer you this. The being gestured towards the chest, the aura swirling mysteriously with entrancing colors. A single glimpse into your greatest fear. The light flickered, revealing a far-off scene within, a fractured reflection of her nightmares. She could see Tom and Sarah, their faces twisted in pain and sorrow. A chill shot through her. The thought of losing them paralyzed her. No, she screamed, instinctively reaching for the chest again, desperate to avert her gaze from the specter of her fear. But the shadows tightened around her, forcing her to confront the vision. Choose, Ellie. The voice erupted, echoing through the cavern, the walls trembling in response. Wake up. The darkness doesn't wait. Ellie took a deep breath. Was she strong enough to face this? To stand up not just for herself, but for the ones she loved? Her instincts screamed to retreat, yet an undeniable force drew her forward. Show me, she shouted into the abyss, raising her hands defiantly, determined to grasp whatever truth awaited her, no matter the cost. The shadows coiled and tightened around her, warping her senses. The light surged again, blinding and beautiful, illuminating her surroundings in a way that revealed the depth of the darkness she had been skirting around. Once you step through, the door closes behind you. The voice warned one final time, echoing ominously. Filled with dread but resolute, she stepped closer into the light. Would she uncover a power that might save her friends or doom them all? What awaited her beyond the threshold? And would she recognize herself after stepping into the unknown? The choice remained, potent and imperative, urging her forward into an uncertain destiny. The light enveloped Ellie, and for an instant, she felt weightless, as if she were suspended between two worlds. Then, a sudden jolt hit her, slamming her down onto a hard surface. She gasped, her heart racing as she cleared her vision. She was no longer in the cavern. Instead, she found herself standing in an expansive library, its cavernous shelves stacked high with tomes that whispered secrets of ages past. The air shimmered with old magic, the smell of parchment and leather thick around her. And yet, beneath the comforting scents lurked the bitter tang of fear. Welcome to the nexus of knowledge, the shadowy figure's voice slithered around her. It seemed to echo from every corner of the room, the walls vibrating with its presence. Everything you seek is here. But beware, Ellie. Knowledge has a price. Knowledge? She echoed, unsure whether to feel awed or terrified. This is your offer? Knowledge can bend the very essence of reality. It trailed off, its voice smooth as silk, enticing her deeper. But power comes with chains. You must learn to wield it wisely, or you shall be consumed. As Ellie took a cautious step forward, she noticed a glowing orb hovering above a nearby pedestal. It pulsed with a rhythm that resonated deep within her, calling her closer. The world around her dimmed, and her thoughts began to swirl. She reached for the orb, entranced by its luminance. Touch it, Ellie, the voice whispered, seductive. Unlock the truths of your past, and unearth the shadows of your future. A sudden flash filled her mind, an overwhelming wave of memories. Some she had buried deep, came crashing back. Moments with Tom and Sarah flashed by, laughter turning to tears as images of disaster and loss piled on top of each other. Fear flooded her chest, tightening like a vice. No, she cried, pulling her hand back, struggling against the flood. I won't surrender to this. The library trembled, the shadows in each corner dissolving and swirling like a storm. The figure's laughter filled the air, cruel and mocking. Do you think you can escape your fate? The truth is a double-edged sword, can save or devastate. Your heart longs for one, but denies the other. She felt the walls closing in, the weight of darkness pressing down. Could she actually wield the power promised? If she chose it, what would happen to her friends? Would this make her savior or monster? The stakes loomed large in her mind, her future against their lives. I don't want this, Ellie shouted, pushing back against the suffocating fear that threatened to drown her. Is it too late to turn back? The voice echoed, deepening the shadows. You are already entangled. Choose the orb or face your greatest fear alone. Trembling, Ellie battled her instincts, the orb beckoning. She was standing at the intersection of her deepest desires and her crippling dread. What if it was her only chance to save Tom and Sarah? Or would it drag her down into darkness forever? Focus, Ellie, she reminded herself, gripping her hands into fists. You can outsmart this. With newfound determination, she began to chase down the labyrinth of thoughts, envisioning her friends' faces, their hopeful smiles igniting a fire within her. She couldn't let fear control her. Show me, she commanded, forcing the shadows to the perimeter of her mind. The orb flickered, a silent battle raging in the air around her. Would it answer her call? Would it hold the key to her salvation or destruction? Just then, a loud crash echoed in the distance, snapping her from her focus. The library quaked, shelves rattling as something sinister stirred. Time is running out, Ellie, the figure warned, its voice heavy with finality. You must decide. Now. Ellie's heart raced as she glanced at the flickering orb, then back to the darkening corners of the library. Would she draw from the abyss of knowledge, or would escaping her fear be the greatest achievement of them all? Standing on the precipice of her decision, she faced the unknown. What awaited her on the other side, and at what cost? The air thickened with suspense as Ellie prepared to confront her fate. Ellie's heart thundered in her chest, a war of instincts colliding within her. Each pulse felt like the beat of her fate, forcing her to grapple with the choice before her. The orb pulsed, casting a silvery glow that danced around the library, illuminating the vast knowledge housed within. Don't hesitate, the figure urged, its voice now a low hiss. A chill ran down Ellie's spine as the air grew colder, electric with tension. She could hear whispers from the shadows, unseen voices rising in a chorus of despair. They felt familiar, like echoes from her past, mingling with the memories that had crashed over her like a torrential wave. With a single, desperate breath, Ellie stepped towards the pedestal. The world around her felt distant, as if she were walking through a dream. Her fingers hovered just above the orb, trembling with uncertainty. The light enveloped her again, and the whispers seemed to call her name. Ellie, Ellie, choose. But then, another crash erupted from the depths of the library, louder and more threatening. The ground shook violently, books cascading from the shelves like a rain of forgotten tales. Panic surged within her. I won't let it end like this, she thought fiercely. I have to know, I have to try. Diving forward, Ellie grasped the orb. The moment her fingers made contact, a surge of energy erupted through her body. A vision crackled to life around her, displaying a torrent of images her childhood. Her mistakes, laughter between friends, followed abruptly by silence, screams of terror ripping through the silence as darkness unfurled. No, Ellie screamed, but it was too late. The knowledge seeped deep, melding with her soul. She felt a fire igniting within her, illuminating her mind with fierce clarity. She saw paths branching like a never-ending tapestry, a choice upon every crossroads. But at the end of each path, shadows loomed, waiting to pounce. Every decision has consequences, the figure warned, now standing closer, its form shifting like smoke. You cannot outrun them. Power weighs heavy. But Ellie stood firm, grounding herself with the memories of her friends, the bonds they shared. The whispers turned into a cacophony of screams, mounting into an overwhelming sound that clawed at her ears. Focus, Ellie, she shouted, her voice steadying. What do you want? Suddenly, a third presence entered the library, thick, dark, oppressive. The air grew heavy, wrapping around her throat. A figure stepped through the shelves, moving steadily, its form one of dread and despair. Ellie's breath hitched. This dark entity was not what she expected it to be. It was an embodiment of her greatest fear herself, twisted by choices unmade, by paths not taken. Run, it whispered, a haunting echo of her own mind. You'll never be free. With every ounce of will, Ellie pushed against the pressure, her heart pounding louder than the entity's voice. No, you are not me. I want to succumb to you. Igniting the power within her, she felt the orb's energy flare in response, a radiant light spinning around her, battling the darkness. The figure paused, its malevolence dimming at the orb's glow. Foolish girl, it hissed, you cannot win against the truth. I might not have the answers yet, Ellie declared, but I know one thing. I refuse to let fear control me. The shadows writhed, and with a surge of determination, she unleashed the energy from the orb, sending a shockwave through the library. Books flew thick and fast, pages fluttering like frightened birds. As the light engulfed the room, her mind raced with all she'd seen. What if this was just the beginning? An echo of the truth laid bare before her, or was it nothing more than a trick? Just then, a deafening roar reverberated through the space, shaking the very foundation of the library. The lights dimmed, and the orb started to flicker, teetering on the edge of extinguishing. With a final desperate glance, Ellie knew she was running out of time. Find me, Ellie, the shadow hissed one last time, echoing through the trembling walls. No matter how far you go, I will always be waiting. As darkness surged around her, Ellie realized this was not just a battle with knowledge, it was a confrontation with herself. Was the truth she sought worth the cost? The answer hung, tantalizingly close yet impossibly far, as the light began to fade. The library swirled into a dizzying cascade of shadows. What awaited her once the darkness fully enveloped her? Would she emerge into the light, or be swallowed whole? She had to know, and the answer was just a heartbeat away. The darkness swallowed Ellie whole, wrapping her in a shroud that felt both suffocating and strangely comforting. For an instant, she was weightless, suspended between being and nothingness. Then, without warning, the library reformed around her only. It was different now. Shadows flickered, contorting into grotesque shapes, and the once familiar shelves morphed into twisted wooden figures. Leaning in closer, hungry for her fear, she staggered, heart racing, as the whispers returned, enveloping her like an echoing chant. Each word slashed through her mind, a chorus of doubt, regret, and dread. Face the choice, face the truth, they howled, their fervor intensifying. A flicker of light caught her eye. The orb still glowed, bright yet dimming, a heartbeat fading. Ellie flung herself toward it, desperate to grasp its power. As her hands closed firmly around its cool surface, a rush of energy jolted through her. The visions surged back, a torrent of memories mixing with shocking flashes of potential futures, choices yet to be made. Ellie, a soft voice broke through the chaos, familiar yet foreign. You need to decide. Will you fight? She recognized it immediately, her friend, Sarah. The memory flooded her with warmth. How can I fight? I'm terrified, she cried, her voice rising above the din. Fear is your greatest weapon. Sarah's voice echoed in her mind. You must harness it, not let it consume you. But the shadows lurked, prowling and probing with sinister intentions. Detailed forms emerged, faces twisted in anguish, each one a representation of her regrets, the times she backed down when it mattered most. They called to her, urging her to give up, to surrender. Join us, Ellie, they beckoned. You don't belong here. No, she shouted, forcing herself to stand taller. I want to give in. The orb's light flared back to life in response, casting the shadows into retreat. Then, the library trembled again, and the floor beneath her shifted, trying to pull her down into an abyss of despair. She grasped the orb tighter, heart pounding as it pulsed with life. I choose to fight, she declared with fierce conviction, remembering the friendships that anchored her, the laughter, and the love she held. I will not be broken. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in discord. Their forms trembled as if the very fabric of darkness was unraveling before her powerful resolve. But the entity, the embodiment of fear, loomed larger, its presence palpable. You are just a girl, Ellie. You cannot win against yourself. I'm not just a girl, she retorted, her voice piercing the air with newfound strength. I am more than my fears, more than my mistakes. In that moment, the orb blazed fiercely, illuminating every crevice of the library. The energy spiraled outwards, engulfing the shadows and setting the air alight with electromagnetic brilliance. But then, a loud crack echoed through the space. The orb's light flickered violently, strands of energy cutting through the swirling darkness like beacons, desperate for stability. Ellie felt a sharp pang of fear in her chest. It's going to break. And before she could react, the orb shattered. Shards of light exploded outward, sending her tumbling backwards as the echoes of grief transformed into agonized wails and tortured cries. Chunks of the library began to collapse, books and shelves tumbling like a storm of chaos, threatening to consume her. Ellie, Sarah's voice echoed through the chaos, desperately reaching out. You must find the truth amid the wreckage. Everything around her twisted into a haze, a whirlwind of blinding light and darkness. Ellie closed her eyes and thought of her friends, the warmth of their laughter brightening the pitch-black gloom. She knew she had to push through this tempest, to unearth the real truth buried within her. But as the library crumbled, a question surfaced, gnawing at her mind. Would she survive this chaos, or would she be lost forever to the shadows that sought to engulf her? And then, out of the swirling debris, a new figure emerged, the embodiment of hope, shimmering amidst the turmoil. Reached for her, beckoning her closer. Ellie, it's time to awaken. Yet, before she could move, a thunderous roar echoed, drowning her thoughts. What lay behind that radiant figure? What truth would she unearth if she dared to step forward? Ellie felt the surge of light and energy pulling her toward the radiant figure. It shimmered like a mirage, flickering against the chaos around her. She was mesmerized, but fear gripped her throat. The shadows still dissolved into dark corners, waiting, watching. Ellie, the figure called, its voice soft and warm, a stark contrast to the cold wails that surrounded her. Take my hand. You can do this. Her heart raced. She wanted to believe, to let hope take root in her chest. But the shadows whispered again, clawing at her resolve. You think you can fight them? They sneered. You're just a girl, a dreamer. You'll never be enough. I am more than just fear. Ellie shouted back, her voice echoing through the collapsing library, growing steadier. Memories of laughter and love surged within her chest. How often had she hidden, avoided her fears, letting them dictate her every step? Not anymore. Taking a deep breath, she reached out towards the hopeful figure. The radiance felt electrifying against her skin, giving her the confidence she desperately craved. The moment her fingers touched the shimmering hand, a flood of warmth washed over her. Suddenly, she was swept into an ocean of light. Visions swirled around her like leaves in the wind, scenes from her life, fleeting moments of joy and sorrow, each one a piece of a greater puzzle. They didn't define her weaknesses. They became her strength, a collection of experiences waiting to be understood. Let go of the shadows, the figure urged. You have a choice. Embrace the light within you. Ellie focused, feeling the warmth pulsing through her. It enveloped her like a protective cocoon. I choose to embrace everything I've experienced, every mistake, every fear, she declared. But even amid this new clarity, the darkness shrieked, writhing with anger. You think this is awakening? This is a delusion. You will regret your choice. Shadows twisted and lashed out at her, trying to snuff out her light. Ellie's heart raced as the roiling darkness surged closer, but she held onto the warmth. No, you have no power over me, she shouted, her voice breaking the sound of chaos. A blinding flash erupted as the light she bore clashed with the shadows, illuminating the library in a radiant glow. The clashing forces created a seismic shift, and the ground beneath her trembled violently. Yet, instead of panic, Ellie felt a surge of strength pulsing within her, a deep well of courage. The shadows faltered, recoiling from the light, their grotesque forms shifting and losing cohesion. This cannot be. You are merely a child, they cried, their voices laced with rage. No, she corrected, a fierce determination surging through her veins. I am not a child. I am powerful, and I won back down. With every heartbeat, the light intensified. Ellie summoned every ounce of courage from deep inside and unleashed it, directing the energy toward the shadows. In that moment, the core of despair shattered, cracking under the weight of her conviction. The library rocked, books flying off the shelves and ceilings disintegrating like ashes. Ellie closed her eyes, centering herself amid the chaos. She could feel the energies colliding violently around her, reality swirling dangerously. And then everything went still. When she opened her eyes, the darkness lay defeated at her feet, curled away like a wounded animal. In that silence, she felt the warm presence beside her, still glowing radiantly. Spoke gently. "Now, Ellie, it's time to move forward. There is more to see." But as she took a breath, preparing to step into the unknown, the ground began to shift beneath her again, threatening to open up into an even darker abyss. Her heart raced with fear. "Wait, what now?" she yelled, panic bubbling to the surface. Was this just the beginning? In that instant, a new shadow emerged from the depths. One she hadn't encountered before. This one seemed familiar, and it stood in stark contrast to the radiant figure beside her. "Ellie," it called, voice twisted but recognizable. "You can't escape me." Moments blurred into uncertainty. What awaited her on the other side? Could she face what lay behind that familiar voice? The abyss beckoned, pulling her closer, and as she swayed at the edge, Ellie realized the real test was just beginning. With a final surge of resolve, Ellie steadied herself, gazing into the face of her fear, the embodiment of everything she had fought against. There, emerging from the shadows, was her own reflection, twisted but undeniable. "You can't hide from the truth, Ellie. You are responsible for this," it taunted, eyes dark and cavernous, dragging memories of regret from the depths of her mind. The weight of her past pressed heavily on her chest. Every mistake, each moment of weakness replayed cruelly in her mind. Fractured laughter turned to echoes of pain, filling the air with despair. But something deep within her ignited a promise of light, a fierce determination to stand her ground. "No, I will not let you control me," she declared, drawing strength from the energy that pulsed within her. The radiant figure beside her flickered, urging her forward. "This is your chance, Ellie. Embrace the power within you. You have the ability to change everything." Stepping closer, Ellie confronted the looming shadow. "I am not ashamed of my past. It made me who I am today," she shouted, the words cascading forth like a tide, pushing back the darkness. "I won't be defined by my fears or regrets. I will rise above them." In response, her dark counterpart shrieked, its form wavering under the brilliance of her resolve. The very foundation of her being trembled, darkness clawing at her as if it sought to reclaim her. "You think you can outshine me?" it hissed, a wicked grin spreading across its twisted features. "I am your very essence, a part of you that you can never escape." "But I choose to accept that part of me," Ellie replied firmly, finding clarity in the chaos. "I choose to learn from it, to grow, and to fight." With every heartbeat, the light around her flared brighter, illuminating the space and piercing through the oppressive shadows. It burst forth in a dazzling display, as if the very stars were lighting up the darkened library. As the blinding brilliance expanded, Ellie felt the suffocating grip of despair begin to loosen. "Show me what real strength is," said the radiant figure, ethereal yet concrete in her vision, offering a hand. "Push back against that which seeks to diminish you." With a deep breath, she grasped the figure's hand, grounding herself in this powerful moment. "Together," she shouted, channeling all her anger, pain, and hope into the radiance surrounding them. It surged forth like a tidal wave, smashing against the darkness that had imprisoned her for so long. And then it exploded, a brilliant upshot of energy that shattered the oppressive voids, sending shockwaves away. The shadow let out a howl, disintegrating against the force of Ellie's declaration. "I am not afraid. I am more than my fears." With one final act of defiance, she unleashed the light, watching as her darkest version began to implode, unraveling into shimmering fragments that danced in the swirling light as she stood victorious. The spiraling chaos around her shifted solemnly, vanished into the corners of the library. The once menacing shadows dissolved into tendrils of light, weaving together into a tapestry of promise. In their place emerged clarity and understanding, unveiling the true source of her power. Ellie, the radiant figure, spoke softly, now taking on a familiar form. Sarah, a visage of hope and friendship that felt like coming home. You have conquered your fears. You see now that power dwells within the choices you make, not in the weight of the past. Ellie felt warmth flood through her, washing away lingering doubts. I did this, she whispered, wide-eyed with realization. Yes, Sarah affirmed. Your strength comes from embracing all aspects of yourself. You've learned that knowledge unveils, and with knowledge comes responsibility. With that, the library around them began to shimmer. Shelves filled with glowing tomes turned to life, illuminating paths she never knew existed. What lies ahead is still unwritten, Sarah encouraged her. You can choose to wield this power wisely, and not just for yourself. Your friends need you. Suddenly, the ground underfoot shifted again, but not with foreboding. It was an invitation to forge her own path. The shadows had lifted, revealing a world of possibilities beyond the threshold of their battle. You've chosen the light, Ellie, Sarah cheered, the essence of friendship buoying her spirits. With a determined stride, Ellie stepped forward towards the future waiting beyond the library door. I'll carry your light with me, she whispered into the air. Each decision she made would reflect the growth from experiencing both light and darkness. As she walked, the boundary between realms shimmered, morphing into an expansive horizon filled with endless possibilities. Behind her, the remnants of her fears faded, transformed into lessons learned, guiding her steps into the unknown with confidence in her heart. Millfield awaited, and so did Tom and the friends who had stood by her side. She would protect them from the shadows they once faced and become the beacon of hope they needed. And in that moment, she felt herself soar, a promise of true strength that whispered against the winds of fate as she stepped into her new reality. A lingering message echoed in her mind. You hold the power to shape not only your own destiny but also to inspire others on their path toward the light. Thank you for sticking with Ellie on this wild ride. If you found this story impactful, you need to subscribe immediately to catch the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let everyone know the power of hope wins. Flood the comments section with your thoughts about this epic conclusion and your theories about the next adventure. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this inspiring journey, because real change starts with those we love.